Hi, everyone. So the first update is just to remind everybody that that I am the new co-chair of the EED table, the Toronto Community Housing co-chair for the Employment and Economic Development Work Group. And we also have a leadership team that gathers to sort of think through some of the big high-level ideas in terms of the EED table. And I'd like to introduce them. But before I do that, I'd like to invite Michael from Yonge Street Mission to give an update on the EED role.
Hi, everyone, again. Just sharing for those who were familiar or knew about or not, through the working group, we had hired economic employment lead that was supporting the group with partnership coordination and bringing them to the people to the table to get them connected with the work. Their role was around job creation and looking for employment opportunities in Regent Park, supporting the group in the SCP. And so it's been a few weeks. We unfortunately are announcing that the person who was hired is no longer with us. And so we have a plan in place moving forward to hire again for the role, and so those updates will come in the weeks to come. But that person is no longer with us, and so we're looking at the role, trying to understand the actual role that was hired for more, and understanding what could be maybe better done, and understand like the capacity that we need, and the person that may be best fit for that. And so just reviewing the role itself. And so we have, I think, different ways of looking at it. And so just going through that process of understanding how to proceed forward. And that person was hired through city funding. And so just a brief update for the group. If there's any questions, we can speak at another time. And so we'll keep this group continually updated with how we move forward.
Hello. We have Michael, and we also have Healing is one. Hands is up. I think that's Marlon.
Yeah, so I was previously on that hiring committee, so can I be also part of this process again? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think, we'll jot you down, in terms of being part of the process. Yeah, that's fine.
Michael, it's Marwan. Sorry. Is there a reason? What was the reason made for letting go of the previous EED coordinator? And also, to Michael's point, I think I want to be also involved in the process of filling up this role, please, because I was very involved in the beginning, and I just want to see this through.
Yeah. So just in respect of that person, it was a mutually we felt like we were just going to go different directions. So just respecting the other person, we're just saying that we have decided to move forward. And so we are also reviewing the role and I think how that maybe best fits the group as well. And so definitely, Marwan, you can be a part of the process moving forward for sure. People are interested. We can, we're obviously going to take those people into account and keep you guys updated in terms of what the process looks forward for sure.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is just to introduce the leadership as part of the ED table. I'd like to invite Maggie, Asal, Fuad. If you could introduce yourselves, that'd be great. I think maybe you've done it, but I think we just want to mention that you're part of a special group of leadership that the ED table meets on a weekly basis.
Hi, everyone. I'll go first, if that's okay. I am Asal, and I am the Employment Program Specialist, and I'm part of the leadership team representing Tridel, along with my colleague, Maggie, who I'll pass it over to.
Thanks, Asal. Maggie Hall, Community Relations and Corporate Social Responsibility Specialist at Tridel as well. So Asal and I jointly represent our organization, the new developer partner for phases 4 and 5 in the Regent Park revitalization. And I think that's it.
Okay, so I'll call in Gail to say a few words about the Women's Entrepreneur Group. Gail, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. So, in conversations with a number of female entrepreneurs or people who are interested in business, we felt that there was a need to form such a group. So we're very much in the starting stages of forming this group, more grassroots. And we are focused on 4 areas. And so what we did first is we went out and found out if in Regent Park there is such a group. And what we found is that there was a long time ago, but it no longer exists. What we found is that there are about 3 women support groups across the service providers. And so we see that there's a need for a women entrepreneur group. And we're focused on 4 areas. One is peer mentorship, so learning from each other. The second is coaching, so getting professional coaching in whatever area that we need. The third is, training and development or training. And the 4th is business supports. So, like I said, we're in the very early stages. We are hoping that we've sent out emails to people that we know are interested in. I think there's probably about maybe 19 or 20 people on that mailing list. So if you're here, whether you are a grassroots organization, an entrepreneur that's female, or a service provider that is interested in getting involved, definitely we welcome you to the table. The idea really behind this is to really look at how we can get supports based on all of the things that are existing in Regent Park. There are there are supports available, but either it's folks don't know. I think we know as entrepreneurs, it's difficult in terms of things like logistics, supply chain, right? Finding product at a reasonable price, insurance, how to write your business plan, how to get, your social media set up or get your business developed. And so what we want to do is really from a very grassroots organizational or from a very grassroots perspective, see how we can, whether that's every year or whatever cadence we come up with, but to be able to individually support those, whether it's 2 businesses across that year in those 4 areas, but still be able to lend supports to the other women entrepreneurs that are in that group. So for example, if you think of Mothers of Peace or the Learning Center, there are lots of programs that they have available that would be useful, certainly for entrepreneurs, whether it's getting a food handler certificate or going through HACCP training. And so that's, for example, one of the supports in the neighborhood that we could utilize rather than replicating that. So that is, in a nutshell, kind of where we're at the moment. So like I said, if you're interested, pop your email name in the chat, and we're more than happy to reach out. And I'll take any questions if you have any. I see healing is one.
Gail, I think this is a great idea, very much needed. But not only do I want to be involved from an agency perspective, representing healing as one, I'm also eager to know if there's an appetite to duplicate this model to capture either youth, people who are not necessarily women, maybe young people who are trying to be aspiring entrepreneurs, or immigrants. Is there an appetite to duplicate this model? And I think the follow-up question I have to this, is this specific group tied to the EED?
Yes, tied to the EED. There's always appetite. So I think that's a question for the broader group. As long as there's someone who says, hey, I want to do this, we should be yeah, there to support, learn from each other. So I would say there should be appetite for all types of supports. But, you know, as with everything, we need someone who will lead that, who will do the work. Yeah. So I think those are great ideas to bring to this table, and whether it's to find support or to be leading those types of initiatives. I think, yes, absolutely. I spoke to Kevin because I shared this with him as well. He's got it in his email, and he also spoke about women who were interested in starting a business, you know, young entrepreneurs, but they didn't know where to start. So again, we welcome all people to the group, you know, if that's the type of support you're looking for. You know, one of the things I can certainly say is that in my building, you know, everyone, or not everyone, but there was a lot of conversation around, we need a salon and a nail place in the community. And now it seems as though there is one coming, you know, somewhere along Dundas. So from what Kevin has said, you know, that was one of the businesses, the group that he was chatting with and mentoring were interested in doing as well. So, you know, I think there's that for me, I would hope that there's appetite, but I think that's a question for the broader group here. Does that answer your question?
It absolutely does. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the last update, I think if we're complete on this item, is I just wanted to remind the ED table that we have applied for funding from Metcalf Foundation. The funding was called the Opportunity Fund. We've submitted a proposal to them, and the proposal was around 200 grand. We will hear news whether we've received that funding around the end of April. And the idea was that the project is about creating two pathways, one, an employment pathway, and the other one is an entrepreneurial pathway. And we're using an approach that's been tested and developed at different areas in the city, called the Connected Communities Work approach. And so we just wanted to provide an update on that as well. This is sort of an opportunity for us to multi-source funding so that we don't heavily rely on only the city funds. So there was an opportunity to do that. And I just want to thank all the organizations that sit here, that support this neighborhood, for sending letters of support, for working endless hours behind the scenes to finish on the deadline. So great experience. And I just wanted, from the bottom of our hearts, as residents, the tons of work that you guys put to support us is greatly appreciated. So we'll keep you updated on that. I think that's all the updates we have for this item. I'll give it back to Gail. Gail, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I'd like to say thank you as well. I cannot say enough thank you for the way that the service providers at this table, or at the SDP table, you know, came together, short notice, sick Ishmael, you know, spending, and literally they were 9 to 5 on a Zoom call to get this done. Thank you, John, as well. So yeah, that was called a really collaborative effort. And it said to me that, you know, we are all invested in this community, regardless of personalities. We are all invested in this community, and we should give ourselves a round of applause for that. So that was definitely brilliant. And that's what you call connected community. That's the start of it. So great work, Ismail. Just so, and you would have seen that our agenda and correspondence came through an email address that we have. So we have an email address, regentparkeed@gmail.com, just so when you see that, you know who it is, and that our meeting has moved to the third Tuesday of every month because some of us have some other work conflicts. So that's hence why we have that move. So excellent. So thank you all. Let me Somebody said, reading your message here. I also recall Teresa from TCH proposed an idea of having existing businesses provide some support to aspiring entrepreneurs, which includes mentorship. Just an idea to look for in the conversation would be worthwhile. Absolutely, she is part of the conversation. So definitely, we're trying not to duplicate effort, Merwan, and really utilize the resources that currently exist. We're going to move to our presentation by the Bolt and Tridel team. Asal?
So I think that many of you have heard a portion of this content before. So I'll kind of go through it, not quickly, but I'll just kind of go at a very high level. But if you do have any questions, please do, I guess, raise your hands. And Maggie, please let me know because I can't see. All right, so I'm here representing Tridel. And Tridel is the developer partner for phases 4 and 5 of the Regent Park revitalization. And as such, we are committed to community economic development and working with various stakeholders to advance local economic opportunities and development. Sorry, I'm mumbling my words today. And we have a dedicated team. We have a dedicated team that's committed to this work. So it's myself and Maggie. My role is to work directly with residents and connect them into employment, training, and capacity building, whatever other opportunities they may be interested in. So I work directly with residents of Regent Park, and Maggie supports me in this work, but she is also, and maybe Maggie, you know what, do you want to kind of share more about what your role is instead of me speaking for you? Right.
Sure. So Asal definitely is focused on the employment, the employment training and capacity building, and where sort of I help to support is in identifying programs that might be outside of the scope of construction, where residents can also build capacity and build their careers that are in like the professional, administrative, and technical side of things. Furthermore, I help to diversify some of our procurement practices here at Tridel by supporting small to medium enterprises that are owned or operated by members of equity deserving groups. And then outside of revitalizations, I do a lot of stuff around urban agriculture and sustainable design, waste diversion. Many hats, but in terms of Regent Park, it's sort of that community engagement side of things, and then the program-related support that is done in tandem with Asal.
Great, thanks, Maggie. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide here. So as I mentioned earlier, we know that we are committed to supporting local economic development, and as such, we know that jobs and training opportunities are key to that. And we have created a website. It's called Tridel Community Works. And on this website is where we post all the different opportunities that are currently available. There is also resources on this website for, to help with interview prep, networking, resume building. As I'm saying this, I'm reminded that I actually do have a few LinkedIn learning licenses currently available as well. And for those of you who don't know what LinkedIn Learning is, it's a platform on LinkedIn. It's a paid service where you have access to various courses on a variety of topics, from self-care type courses to very technical skills-based courses. So if you are interested in that, I will share the link in the chat afterwards, and you can just register. I will say that those licenses are set to expire at the end of March right now. We're hoping that they will be extended, but there's still about a month, 2 months available for you to access those services as well. But essentially, going back to Community Works, this is the website where we're posting all the other opportunities. And so when you go on the website, you can not only see what opportunities are available, but you have an opportunity to register. And once you register on the website, you will be connected with me, and I will give you a call. We'll have a chat about sort of what opportunities you're interested in, and then I go out into my network and see if there are opportunities that match your interests. And so one thing that I kind of glossed over in the beginning is that, Tridel is a construction company. And so construction is, a large part of our business, but it's not the only part of our business. And so we do have within the Tridel group of companies, a number of other companies that deal with different aspects of construction or development. So for example, there is property management, there is retirement living, there is, short-term rentals and long-term rentals. So there's a lot of different types of opportunities. And so when I speak about, I go back to this website here, about the array of possible opportunities, they're quite broad. And we are working diligently with our network to bring even more opportunities, because we understand that, construction is not everyone's interest, but it does offer a great career pathway. And I'm going to talk a little bit about BOLT and sort of our construction related programs in a second. But I just want to sort of say it in this forum here that when you think about employment opportunities, I'm not just talking about construction opportunities, there's quite a few. And in fact, tomorrow, there'll be some new postings on the website around sort of customer care-based roles, as well as we are kicking off our summer internship programs so if there are any youth in the community who are in school and returning to school and looking for opportunities to work their summer, there are opportunities with our team, and as well as other teams within the company. So please do reach out to me on Community Works, and I can sort of reach out and sort of have those one-on-one conversations with folks. So, any questions so far? Okay, I'll move on. I'm also going to speak about BOLT right now, and on the call. As you guys,
yeah. I think Marwan has his hand up.
Oh, sure, yeah. Thanks, Maggie.
So sorry, Asal. This is great so far. I really like where this is going, but I just wanted to address an issue that we faced with a specific group, and not just the EED group, but I think the STP as a whole, which is essentially the piece around centralizing information. So I think it's great that you guys have a website. Great that there's going to be a lot of emerging employment opportunities. But I think specific to this group, and I don't know if Ibrahim is in this call, but maybe trying to connect with the Regent Park Social, which has been established as a common ground in terms of like all the communication that goes through the community. So it might be worthwhile to connect with the communications table, or just, I don't know, have Gail and Ishmael essentially make that connection. I think that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Marwan, for that. I will definitely do that. Just making a note.
Absolutely. And just to interject here to answer that as well, Marwan, that is actually going to be no more, and it's going to be, my apologies for the noise, and it's going to be there's an app coming. So I agree that certainly we want to ensure that we send this off to, and I think you send it to info@Regent Park Social, anything you want, and Ibrahim will automatically put that on the website. That does exist, but that will probably be moving away, and then we'll be launching our app. So maybe it's a good opportunity to talk about, and what do we want out of kind of the content that you're sharing to be up on the app. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that. Great suggestion. Okay, so another, I'm going to jump into sort of the BOLT Foundation, and we do have the ED from the BOLT Foundation here, but I'm going to speak on her behalf, but feel free to pop in your questions in the chat or raise your hands, and Raleigh will help me in answering some of these questions. So BOLT is a charitable foundation independent of Tridel. But I also support the team there as an employment specialist. And BOLT's mission is to inspire a new generation of industry professionals by providing access to education, training, employment in the construction industry. And so it's for youth, 17 to 29, or I should say under 29, because they do some programming for younger youth as well. But there's sort of three main pillars to sort of the BOLT support. So there's creating awareness. One of the challenges that we've seen, or one of the barriers we've seen, is that folks don't really know what careers in construction are. They think of, the plumbers, the electricians, the carpenters, but beyond that, there's a bit of a gap of knowledge of the diversity of careers that are in construction, and that sort of is on the trade side, but there's also a number of careers on the professional side, as they call it, like in project management and construction management. So there is quite a large array of opportunities. So they do a lot of work around sort of creating awareness. And I'll dive a little bit deeper on these sort of programs, but some of the programs they use to sort of create that awareness is speak outs, job fairs and info sessions. And recently, I realized it's not on the slide, is they've also developed a series of videos that dive a little bit deeper into what those careers in construction are. Second, to sort of the middle pillar there is around career exploration. So opportunities for youth who are, interested or curious about careers in construction to take a deeper dive before, we always say, before investing, 4 years or however many thousands of dollars into a program and realizing it's not for them. We have created some career exploration programs to help youth decide if construction is for them. So one of them is a day of discovery. This is a great event. We've had to pivot a little bit and change the format of it because of COVID. We're hoping that we'll be able to go back to its original format in the future, but it's an opportunity to sort of tour a live construction site and sort of get exposed to sort of all the different or a variety of trades and professional side of construction. Also to, see construction at different stages. It's quite an amazing experience, to be honest. I've done it a couple of times now, and every time, I learn something new. There's also job shadowing, which is an opportunity to actually go on site for a couple of weeks and dive a little bit deeper. I will go into this in a little bit more depth in just a sec. And then finally, they offer financial support. So there is the Bolt Financial Awards, which is a scholarship program, but they also provide funding for skilled trades programs as well. So there's sort of both pathways are covered, I think is what this next slide is saying. So both does support both pathways into construction. So whether that's going in the post-secondary sort of side of it, or if you're going to go into the skilled training and apprenticeship programs. Okay. So just to go a little bit deeper into what those specific programs are. So speak outs are an interactive information session, usually organized with schools or community organizations, where we bring staff from the different Tridel staff, but also our network. We bring different folks who work in construction to speak with youth, but also parents and youth allies, whoever else might be influencers in their lives about the different possibilities. Pre-COVID, it used to be sort of like a round table where you would go around and speak with the different professionals and sort of get just a chance to learn about their lived experience, what they do on a day-to-day basis. It's really meant to sort of open folks' eyes up to sort of what's possible. There's a stat on the side there. There was a study done and only 8% of construction workers were encouraged by their guidance counselors to actually pursue a career in construction. And so we're trying to break that barrier and make it more accessible and sort of just give folks an opportunity to see what it's like to work in construction. So, and we work with I know there's a number of community organizations on the line here as well. So we do work with community organizations, and we'll work with you to determine what professionals you would like us to bring. And then we can host that event together. We have one coming up on March 8th in celebration for International Women's Day. So it's going to be focusing on women in construction, but that is our next event. So it's on March 8th. So if you're interested, you can just reach out to me afterwards, and I can share that content, like the registration with you. Day of Discovery, I sort of touched on this a little earlier, but what it is now is a half-day event on one of Tridel's construction sites, and participants get to sort of start at the top of a construction building and sort of work their way down and see sort of the different stages of construction, which is quite fascinating, to be honest, but also interact with site on staff. staff on site. And so we're planning our next day of discovery in April of 2022. And pre-COVID times, and we're hoping that we can hopefully go back to this in April, is we used to do a full day event in partnership with George Brown College. So we'd start at George Brown College, and then we would, take a bus down to the construction site and do a tour. But if we can't, we'll continue on our half-day event where we just meet at a construction site and go through the activities. And this is a great sort of first step for anyone who is curious about construction. And then once folks are done a day of discovery and decide, yeah, you know what, this is for me, or maybe I'm interested in this and I'd like to learn more, we offer a 2-week job shadowing experience on a Tridel construction site where participants can shadow the trades and management staff to gain a deeper understanding of the work culture, career pathways in the industry. We try our best to find a site that's close to folks, as well as to ensure if there is a specific interest. If there's a young person, for example, who's really interested in electrical, we try our best to make sure they spend adequate time with the electrical staff. But the purpose of it is to really to open people's eyes to all the different possibilities. And as part of the job shadowing, youth will get $500 stipend for the 2 weeks, TTC fare to and from the site. They get all their safety equipment, so new boots, vest, hard hat, anything they need sort of to start their job shadowing. We get them certified in WMIS and working at heights. And then after they're done their 2 weeks of job shadowing, we sit down with them. So it's either myself or one of the staff at Bold. We'll sit down with the young person and say, how was your experience, and sort of talk about next steps. And, if the next step is to go to, an employability, into a skilled trades training program, we can cover the cost of those. And we also cover the cost of, if they do find employment, we'll cover cost of tools and such like that to help them get started. So really the purpose of it is to allow youth to sort of take a much deeper dive into what a career in construction is and decide if it is for them or if it's not for them, and if it is for them, which pathway they want to pursue. And then we'll come up with a plan for them to sort of get on that path. And then finally, we have our the Bolt Financial Awards. And so they're a scholarship program, and they're offered to full-time students pursuing construction-related college and university programs. And construction-related is quite broad. There is a list on the website of the different programs that are supported, but those aren't all the programs. If there's a program that is construction-related, because there's new ones popping up all the time, folks just have to reach out to us, and then we'll take a look at it and see if it's eligible or not. But once the successful candidate will receive either 3,000 or 5,000. It really depends on what type of program they're studying. So if they're in a college level program, it's around 3,000. If they're in a university program, it's $5,000 of funding for the school year. And one of the best things I would say about the financial awards, there's actually two things that I really appreciate about the financial awards. One is that they will support you throughout your education. So if you apply in your first year, you can get funding up until your master's programs. So if you decide to do so. So all you have to do is reapply every year. So there's a lot of scholarship programs out there that are only for 1 year. This is not one of those. We want to support you throughout your education, and we will work with you to help you find employment afterwards, or internship opportunities, co-op opportunities. And then the other part of it, I think that's really important to note, is that the financial awards are not based on academic standing, but rather on financial need. So we look at things, so while we do look at sort of your grades, it's not sort of the determining factor as to whether or not someone is successful in getting the scholarship. So we do have an info session coming up on March 29th, sort of to walk folks through sort of the application and share more about the awards. And I will share that flyer once it's available for folks who are interested in applying. We're also here to support them with their applications as well, just to let you know. And the application deadline for that is on April 29th, 2022. Well, this year. And since 2014, both has supported 200 youth start their apprenticeships. And so, like I said before, we support both pathways. So before I was talking about the financial awards that are supporting the post-secondary pathway, but we do also support the skilled trades, a skilled training pathway as well. And that's it for my presentation. I apologize if I went too fast. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. And hopefully the floor is open for a question, even comments. I have, go ahead, Gail.
No, sorry, no, I just say I saw Helen's one again. Not again, but I saw Helen's one's hands up. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you so much. Thank you, Asal. I think that was a great presentation. It's a great way to identify. I think this is something that came up in the EED group, trying to accommodate those who are interested in the construction industry. And I think this is a great presentation in terms of like outlining barriers to those who might be experiencing entering the construction industry. But I just want to switch the conversation over to, the food industry, if that's possible. So I know within this group as well, we've identified so many caterers in Regent Park, let alone the Regent Park Catering Collective. And I know it's something that we haven't developed, and I'm just trying to see if there's an appetite to gain some sort of support from either agencies and obviously Tridel in terms of exploring supports in terms of like training for those who are interested in catering or the food industry, as well as trying to get a community-owned industry kitchen. I know this is a conversation that was had with Daniels Corporation, but for some reason rather did not really follow through. And I just want to kind of emphasize from an organization that deals with a lot of food insecurity initiatives, the need for a community-owned industry kitchen where caterers can come in and fulfill their need. So that my conversation is around that.
Sure. And so what I will say, Marwan, is that we are, as I think as many of you guys know, that we are starting a one-year engagement process for the community benefits agreement in Regent Park. And so through that, this is like the opportunity to, I will take this feedback back, but there'll be more opportunities to get feedback on sort of the different types of programming and support that are needed. And so, like I can't say with certainty yes or no at this time, because we haven't fully gone through the process yet, but we are committed to that. If that is what the community wants, then that is, the direction that we can go in.
I have a question.
Yeah, is that Michael?
Inez' hand is up as well.
Yeah, so Inez and then Michael.
Hi, Asia. My question is that this is a great presentation. Will there be like flyers in the future or like outreach for the youth or anybody who wants to join for construction? I mean, I know there's women out there that do this too as a construction. I just want to know how is that? I mean, I had many conversations with Tridel regarding about like what Marwan brought up regarding about the catering collective of for having a little booths of selling, right? To have your own or a huge kitchen where people could go and cook there and do, because here it's a lot of people that have cooking, and it's hard to do that. And now with Painbox Bistro not being there, I don't know how that works now, right? Even the same thing with I know in the future with grants with to do food handling certificates and stuff like that.
So thanks, Inez. So I will say that I will share the flyers and information about sort of all the stuff that I spoke about both programs and such after this call. And then going back to sort of the comments that both you and Marwan has raised about the community kitchens and the need for that. Like I'm hearing that very loud and clear, and I will definitely relay that information. And like I said, like I am not, like I don't see a reason why we wouldn't, but I just can't speak to it right now because we haven't gone through that full year engagement process. But what I'm hearing is that it's definitely a need in the community. There is a lot of folks in the community who are who do have food businesses. Like I came out to, I forgot what it's called right now, but in September, I came out to the bazaars. That's what it was. And, I tried out a lot of the great food. So I know there's a lot of great vendors out there and, happy to support as it is. Like, Maggie was speaking earlier about sort of social procurement. So wherever we can, we have like a bit of a Rolodex of local businesses that we keep. And whenever possible, we try to order and support local businesses as well. So I'm saying that and saying if you know of anyone else, please do feel free to share their information. I know we took the coffee contact earlier and put it into our Rolodex as well.
And one more thing, Asal, just you mentioned, or part of Inez, your question was, how are we going to be promoting, our work in community economic development, in employment and training, capacity building, and how is Bolt present there? So we're really excited about, continuing those in-person engagement events as part of, the rezoning and of course, the one-year consultation process around community benefits. And at those different events, we were sure to bring, flyers and physical, tangible things for people to take home, to visit Tridel Community Works, to learn about the Bolt program, and we'll definitely be committing to doing that as well. And Michael, I think you were after Inez.
Sorry, Maggie, I'm just going to
This is for Marwan.
Hold on, Michael.
How many square feet are you looking for the kitchen?
Michael, could you hold on 1 second? Riley,
how many square feet are you looking for the kitchen?
Yeah, I heard you. Could you wait 1 second, Michael?
Sorry.
Riley, could you finish your thought, and then Michael, repeat back your question. Riley, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to add as well, and I put it in the chat, but
sorry, I missed that. If there was any answer.
Yeah, you'll get your answer after Riley has finished. Wait a few seconds.
Sorry about that, Michael. I just wanted to add on to Asal and Maggie's answer here, because we've tried very hard to sort of optimize the digital aspect of things. So all of our flyers for these programs can be downloaded from our website, and we try to keep them as up to date as possible for the new dates and new events that are coming up. And that's also where youth can register for those events. But also, I've just put in our distribution link, our distribution list. So if anybody is particularly interested in getting, all of our upcoming programming and sort of those reminders that are coming up, then please feel free to sign up there, and we'll add you to our MailChimp list so that you can stay up to date and share these opportunities. Thank you. Michael, over to you.
Yeah, Michael, if you could repeat back your question.
How many square feet does Marwan think the kitchen should have?
Marwan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. I don't think it's a question of how many square feet. I think that's a conversation for this group and for the community as a whole. Maybe learning from the floor plan that was established with the Daniels Corporation and the Regent Park Catering Collective. But I think it's more towards just get an idea of where the conversation can go. I know there's a lot of identified agency-owned kitchens. It's just a matter of accessibility. And I think that's why the need of getting a community-owned kitchen emerged. And I think there's a lot of questions, not just about square feet, it's about sustainability, it's about cost, it's about ownership, and it's so many things. I just wanted to propose that idea here and maybe try to duplicate some of the thoughts around, the Bolt program and how to duplicate that into the food industry, essentially.
But how many square feet were in the previous plan?
So I can't answer that for certain. I can't answer. I know the number was shared with me. I just can't remember what that number is. But I don't think it's a fixed number here that we're looking for.
No, I know that, but I just need to know how this affects all the various requests for space and what's going to happen.
Okay, sounds good. So
Marwan, I think Marwan is saying that he doesn't have that on hand currently, but he'll look into it. Am I right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, and I did saw John's hand up. John, is it in relation to this, or you have a separate question?
I'm not sure what kitchen Michael was referring to, but I believe if it was the kitchen that was initially fought for Daniel's building for the Regent Park Catering Collective, I believe it was around 1,000 square feet. I hope I'm not saying anything that's silly. but the overall space was, I believe, 2,000 and something square feet, and it was for both the Regent Park Sewing Studio and the Regent Park Hearing Collective. So about half of that was for the Regent Park Hearing Collective, and it was a kitchen.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, the floor is still open, and Gail, let us know if we're on time and we need to jump to the other presentations. But if you have a question, everybody, please raise your hand or let us know.
Definitely not on time, but we'll have to keep moving through. I do have to say that I did have a conversation with Daniels Corporation about the paint box. And of course, and I had that conversation as well with the previous owner, and certainly I can tell you that the overhead costs are about 10,000. That's just overhead costs. That has nothing to do with actually doing anything in the space. Minimally, I should say 10,000. So because I proposed to them or suggested how could we use that space as a community kitchen. What we've heard from those who've been looking at this is that there are about 4 commercial kitchens in Regent Park. The issue is called access in terms of, the high cost of insurance, for example. I certainly could not afford a commercial kitchen for my business simply because of the cost. I would be operating at a double loss. So it's a real problem. Those are my comments.
Yeah. I have a question. If there's nobody, 2 questions from mine. The first one is I just wanted to reiterate the local outreach that's needed in order to take advantage of some of these opportunities. I know that some of us are very comfortable with digital technology, visiting websites, uploading things, but others require a more tactile, visual to see opportunities. And I think partnering with Toronto Community Housing, as you already do, and making use of their infrastructure and their ambassadors to reach out these opportunities, and also partnering with the the managers of the market buildings in terms of making use of their infrastructure would be of use. That's just a comment. The other one is in terms of the relationship between these opportunities and community benefits. Are you thinking those community benefits have already started in terms of these opportunities, or they will start only after the 1-year process?
Am I muted? No, okay, I'm not muted. So in terms of like the physical outreach and making sure that there are information is being shared on multi-platforms, so online platforms, but also like in buildings and mail outs and stuff. I completely agree with you. And we will be partnering with TCHC to do that. I know that Raleigh has also done some postal drops and things like that, just to make sure that folks are getting the information for both specifically. And hopefully we'll be able to go back into in-person engagement and sort of do a lot of that stuff ourselves as well. In relation to, I think your second question was around I forgot what the question was exactly.
Yeah, the question is, Tridel had committed $26.75 million of community benefits, and here you already are offering opportunities, direct opportunities to Regent Park residents. Has the count already started with these opportunities, or will it start after the 1-year process?
So what I can say is that we wanted to hit the ground running and start offering opportunities as soon as possible. And since I think it's since March, we have employed 10 Regent Park residents in a variety of different roles. And so that is all that I can say at this point. We still have to go through the engagement process for the community benefits agreement, and so that process is still underway.
Apologies. I know it's underway, or maybe it's unclear if it has or hasn't started.
No,
and that's fine. Yeah.
It's now the engagement portion still hasn't commenced yet. And I wish Fod was here because he could probably talk about this.
No, I know the engagement hasn't started because we're still working out. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, has the allocation of those funds already started?
Well, we know that employment is a central priority of this community, so we would expect that any wages paid would be credited to that $26.8 million.
Okay, thank you.
that's how I'll answer.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Yeah, Gail, are we moving to the next item, or are we still taking more questions?
Oops, sorry, I don't see any other hands up. And so our next item is Mary from the Learning Center.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi, Mary.
Hi. So I'm here today with my CL&D hat on. And I'm here today because I wanted to narrow in on a few programs that I'm not sure if everybody knows about or not. Okay, so we're officially called the Toronto Centre for Community Learning and Development. Often people call us the TD Learning Centre and things like that. We tend to call ourselves the Centre of Learning and Development, or CL&D. So that's who we are. And if you haven't heard of us before, our programs tend to focus on adult literacy, skill development, leadership development, immigrant integration, and civic engagement. And if you aren't sure where we are at the corner of Sackville and Dundas. We live within a TCHC building. And we've been online pretty much since the pandemic started. You might have seen us in and out a little bit, but for the most part, we're still online, especially these programs I'm about to share with you today. Today, I wanted to tell your group a little bit more about our upskilling programs that we have at the center. And they are programs that can help prepare people for jobs in specific sectors, prepare for the Canadian workplace or further education. A lot of it is around increasing confidence and independence, training on 21st century skills, and we also have wraparound supports as a part of our programs too. So this isn't everything we do, but it's a few programs to highlight today that I feel are relevant to the EED table. Okay, so the first program I wanted to talk about is the Academic Upgrading Program. We've had this one for a few decades now. It's a program that's funded by and run through the Government of Ontario, specifically Employment Ontario. It's a free adult learning program. And so it's really good for anyone who wants to improve their reading, writing, numeracy, computer skills, or communication skills. So it's not, for example, it's not like the communication skills, it's not English language learning, but it has to do with how to communicate here in Canada, maybe, for example, if folks are newcomers. It's really good for anyone that is would like to prepare for their high school equivalency, or get skills that could lead to a job. It's really like a bridging program. So you don't necessarily get the GED at the end of it, but it helps you bridge and prepare. And part of this is because our class sizes are so small. It really, you get that one-on-one support from the instructors. So I'm just going to keep going for time. So another program I'd like to highlight is kind of came up today with everyone. It's a food processing essential skills program. So this is, again, free, like all of our programs at the center. It's a 4-week training program, and it's for anyone who is looking for employment in the food processing or hospitality industries. It is a collaboration with the Food Processing Skills Canada organization, and it also includes things like a food handling certification within it and job preparation. It's got a whole host of classes and courses within the program. You dedicate about 10 hours a week of learning online, and it's done within 4 weeks. And you also get a certificate once you're done. So that's our food processing program. It's pretty new as well. It's one of the things that we pivoted during the pandemic. Now, we also have an immigrant women integration program, which you might have heard from, has also been around for a couple decades. However, we have a new change to the program that I really wanted to tell you about today. So what's remained the same is it is free certifications for immigrant or newcomer women. And it's for women who are interested in community leadership or going into the social service sector, for example. Now, typically, the IWIP program has been about 8 to 10 months long. We're trying out something new, a new pilot, where we're doing a couple certifications at a time. So we have applications open right now for free mental health first aid training, mindfulness coaching courses. And we also have one for de-escalating potentially violent situations, including and also standard first aid and CPR. So this is all free. So yeah, accepting applications for those now, if anyone's interested. And the last one I want to tell you about today is Elevate Talent. So this is a huge program that got tons of money from the federal government. The center is very lucky to be one of the community partners involved in this program. Now, this again, it's a free 90-day training in the Technology and Innovation Center. It's all online. And there's some examples of programs you can take here, such as customer care, product management, data science, etc. They have industry connections, they have job prep, they have these success advisors that they pair you with. So again, they're similar to us. They try to have that additional support around anyone who signs up for the program to help get them to the next level. Every few months, they have intake for the next 90 days of programming. So at this time, the next deadline is by March 6th. You don't need any experience in the tech sector, and you get a certificate upon completion. And I believe some people also, depending how they do in the program, get placement afterwards. Whew, okay. So all this to say is these programs are open to anyone in the neighborhood. It's well beyond Regent Park. They're open to anyone who lives in Toronto. Generally, all of these programs have an English language benchmark of around 4, 5, or 6, depending on the program. And they're just these really great programs that are free that help you get from A to B. If you or anyone you know fall into any of these opportunities that are available. The last thing here is how to connect with us, which I can also put in the chat if you don't have it. Yeah, more than happy to connect if you'd like more information. I realize this is just a really quick run through of these programs, but I would like to just have the opportunity now. If we happen to have any time, I'd love to answer if there's any questions, because I ran through that super fast.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Marwan.
Thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering around specifically the first aid and the de-escalation course that you guys offer. Mm-hmm. Are there any limitations? Because I know we, as an organization, are exploring getting some of our youth trained in first aid and CPR, just in terms of running like a youth safe space in Regent Park at the Daniel Spectrum. So what are the limitations? Is it just restricted to Regent Park residents? Is there a certain age? That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. It's for immigrant women specifically. So in terms of age, that's a really great question. I'm not sure if it's 16 or up or 18 or up. I'll say 18 to be safe, but potentially lower. And it is with the same goals of being around, being interested in community leadership. So it is pretty specific in terms of that piece. If it's youth who want to get if you're looking for youth who are interested in standard first aid and CPR, I know Ines probably has some more information on that, but I know that there's a separate, not through the center, but through the community safety certificate, there will be opportunities coming up. Now that restrictions are going down, there's going to be opportunities coming up through separately through the community safety certificate for that.
That's what I was going to say. Sorry to jump in. That we're going to be doing CPR for the 2 days and the emergency 1 day, and plus mental health first aid. We're just on hold because of the limits in the space. So now with the stuff that is saying 50 indoor, so we're going to have a meeting and set up all this stuff with the people that does this training. So Marwan, you could send me information of the youth. I know it's we talked about the youth mental health is 16 for youth 16 to 19 to 29, and then we have for adults too.
Mm-hmm. And I know the center's been able to secure funding in the past for CPR, which is great. It's definitely found through these different projects that it's something that's just going to be needed on an ongoing basis. So it's good to know that you're interested in that. We'll be in touch.
No, for sure. And I'm just trying to get an idea of like where the resources are allocated, right? So I already know about MS's program, which is amazing. I just wanted to see if your organization can support people on an ongoing basis. But now I'm hearing it's just for a specific group. So thank you.
Yeah, this particular program is, yes. Yeah, thank you.
Rashida?
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. You know what, I want to say, the Women Integration Group program is an amazing program. I know I took personally, I know how much I got benefit out of it. And I also want to know, in our community, we have a lot of people that went to back home school, like, college level and things like that. When they come back here, the education level is not equivalent to, they can go back to the school or college, just to do upgrade. I'm wondering if you guys just something to prepare for them so they can go into the college and then get their degrees or things like that, whatever they wanted. I know there's a lot of women who came newly to Canada. They've been looking for some sort of support in that. So I'm just wondering if you can give me some answer on that, please.
Yeah, thanks so much, Marshida, and thanks for sharing your experience with IWIP. It feels like every time I meet a new person in the neighborhood, they've gone through IWIP already, which is really amazing. So to answer your question, I think the academic upgrading program is really, really aligned with what you're saying. Based on what you mentioned, Rashida, this is the program that I think fits because it's like a bridging program. If it's really good for anyone who they maybe they do or maybe they don't have a certain level of education from back home, but would like to increase their confidence a bit, learn more about what the education system is like in Canada, and practice doing reading and writing exercises, practicing on the computer and things like that in this context. That sounds so much like what academic upgrading is really, really good for. So that is the one that I would recommend for that program.
Okay. No, because it says it's something to bridge for the high school. I'm talking about something like college level.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So both high school or college. So this program has 3 streams. So when you do the intake, it has 3 streams, and then you also identify what your goals are. So whether your goals are high school equivalency, post-secondary, so college or university, employment, what's another one? Entrepreneurship or independence. Okay. So when you do intake, you identify which is your goal path. And then there's also 3 streams. And so depending on what your goal path is and perhaps where you're at in terms of your skill or comfort in these areas, that is where you would then fit and work from. So each person is working towards their own milestones, not against other people in the class, based on wherever their own goals are towards.
Thanks for the clarification.
We have Patricia.
Thank you, Mary. I wanted to say that I just completed the FPE program. It's been over 2 weeks, or approximately 2 weeks, and I still haven't received anything as of yet, the certificate referring to. That's one. And two, I wanted to know if you consider adding a program that will help the caterers to make their own business cards and their own flyers and things like that.
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning about that with FPE. I can make a note to support following up on that. In terms of the caterers, I'm wondering if, I'm not sure if Allison has got in touch with you or not, because my understanding was that sort of the types of work that if it's not offered right now, it's going to be offered within the next 6 months. So for the caterers who are existing in the collective, there's some, she's actually creating a training program about what you're talking about right now. So I'm not sure if it's, maybe it hasn't been, if it hasn't been communicated yet, I think it's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And so our next presenter is the evaluations and benchmark team with Inez and Michael and Sanjana. Thank you.
So hi everyone, I'm Sanjana and I'm here with Michael and Inez on behalf of the Evaluation and Benchmark Committee. We are hoping to kind of present an update on our evaluation and benchmarking activities for SDP, and also hoping to get some volunteers from this group to help us in our work. So this is just a quick agenda. We'll first kind of do a debrief on what our committee does, and then we'll do an update on the pilot. We'll discuss next steps from there, and then kind of talk about the opportunity that we wanted to present to committee members here. So to do a quick overview of our committee, some of you may have already worked with us or interacted with us in the pilot, but this might also be a new committee to a lot of you. But we are really there to support the working groups as they're working towards meeting the overall SDP goals of cohesion and inclusion. So we're there to kind of support the working groups in kind of monitoring their progress and helping the working groups understand if they're working effectively or not, and kind of what the barriers are they're facing, what supports they need to help meet their overall goals. Michael, did you want to speak to the importance of this work in terms of the overall SDP?
Yes. So in the course of trying to gather some information about how well we have done and how much our goals are being achieved, we're going to have to choose some specific indicators or measurements to record over the course of the next year. And in fact, we'll be asking people to help join our meetings to help work on that. But I just want to give sort of some general idea of like what would be things to think about when choosing what to measure as indicators. So, I mean, I basically said there were two like good things to look for, and one is, will the information you're collecting help you make decisions in the future? So is it something that something else depends on, that depending on what you find out, you might do something differently? And the other thing was to try to find out, and this can be part of the evaluation process, but also could be part of a strategic planning process that we may have the SDP due later. I think the planning committee is talking about that. But as part of both of those types of processes, you might want to consider how effective are the actions in producing the intended results. Because obviously you have an intended result and you set forth some actions based on what your general expectations are as to what kind of actions produce what kind of results. But at some steps in the process, you might want to go through a thought process or an analysis of, what results can be expected from what actions, and taking into account the external situation and how that affects whether the actions will be able to achieve the results. And also, I think this is equally important, taking into account how your actions can change the external situation if that's an important part of achieving the results that you want to achieve. So that's a useful thing to think about when deciding, what are we looking for? What measurements or indicators do we really need to know to find out whether we have been effective in that way? So that's just a sort of general outline of some of the things to consider when looking for how and exactly what we're going to record during this evaluation process. And I think now we're going to have some other presentations of different parts of this process.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Michael. So yeah, we'll discuss a little bit more of how committee members can get involved here. But Ines, I know you wanted to share sort of your experience of being part of the committee as well. Are you?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so for me, the evaluation benchmark, at first I didn't know what evaluation benchmark was. So me sitting in the committee and even the language, the way it was introduced to us, this evaluation benchmark is more to see in the different committees of how many people are as a TCHC tenants, private market agencies, in order to help us with getting more of those residents to come and sit in the committees. For example, I'm just going to give, for example, of us with the training certificate. When we do that, we do evaluation that before and after, right? So that helps us even with the funders and stuff of with that evaluation. So I've learned so much with the evaluation of having a better understanding and bring it on to others to have a understanding too, that it's a language where we all understand.
Yeah,
thank
perfect.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Ines, and thank you for those examples. I think that helps better explain kind of what we're talking about when we talk about evaluation. So I wanted to move on to give a quick update on the pilot. Some of you may have been involved as part of the pilot. This was carried out by Pavitra, who on behalf of the Evaluation and Benchmark Committee, but the goal of this pilot was really to determine what the level of social inclusion and cohesion was in Regent Park, and then also on top of that, evaluate how effectively the working groups were working. So very much kind of what I was talking about before. And so here, the data to be able to kind of measure those things was conducted through surveys that some of you might have participated in, but also by collecting attendance records and meeting minutes. I didn't have a lot of time to kind of go through a lot of the details, but I'll share the report with Gail and Ismail, and that way that can be kind of shared with the committee, and we can then discuss it in more detail. But now that the pilot is completed, we feel that it's important to continue to measure, to continue to evaluate how the working groups are doing. And so the Evaluation and Benchmark Committee thinks that we should do an assessment on twice a year, and that's something that we can discuss and as part of those working sessions, but essentially doing an assessment at regular intervals, which will allow the working groups to really monitor their progress and also monitor at the same time, kind of between each of the assessments of what accomplishments they have been able to achieve, or what challenges they have had, if there's any measurable sort of targets and goals that the working groups want to set for themselves. So here the Evaluation Benchmark Committee want to kind of work with the working groups to create an assessment, but then really give that tool to the working groups to use for themselves, to self-assess themselves at a regular interval, to assess how the work is going, to assess whether or not they're meeting their overall goals. And so this is kind of where we really need your help in developing this assessment, because we really want to, at the end of the day, create an assessment that's going to be useful and effective for you. And so we want to work with all the different working groups to come up with questions to include as part of the survey, to understand what is important data for each of the working groups to include as part of the assessment. So we're doing this presentation with each of the different working groups, and we're really looking for 2 volunteers from each working group. And that volunteer, I think the biggest sort of competency, I guess, we would look for in the volunteer is really having a grounded understanding of their working group, and an understanding of their working group's goals and kind of their ongoing projects that are happening in the working group, which can then help us determine what sort of data we want to collect in part of the assessment. And as part of the learning outcomes for the volunteers, we're hoping that this is an opportunity for the volunteers to understand what is evaluation and benchmarking in more detail, how to design a survey, and also data collection and how that's done, and kind of how to design a survey, how to design survey questions so that they give us meaningful data to collect. And in terms of, I know I'm hitting 7, but I'll just wrap up quickly here. But in terms of time commitment, we're looking at approximately 4 hours. So that includes 2 working sessions, which is an hour and a half each for the working session. And we're also including some time for onboarding to kind of help the volunteer understand what we're trying to do in these working sessions. So you can contact me if this is something you're interested in, or if you have more questions, or you can also contact your co-chairs, Gail and Ismail, to let them know that you're interested.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is it limited to 2 volunteers or 2 residents?
No, it's not. I think that's kind of the minimum, and the more volunteers we have, the better it is, really. That's kind of I think that's kind of the minimum from each working group that we were looking for.
Okay, thank you, Sanjana. We'll connect with you in terms of those who will work on behalf of the EED table. As Sanjana has said, if you're interested in exploring and learning about this opportunity to help the EED table do evaluation of its work, please send us an email, or even right now, let us know. Gail, I think we're closing off. So the last item to end off our meeting is if you can put it in the chat or say it out loud. What do you think? What has worked in the meeting, and what can we improve on? If you can put that in the chat, or you can say that out loud, that those are the last feedback we want from you. And our meeting has come to an end.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out all of our social media platforms. For more information, check out our website. Bye.